I'd say more than anything else, it's taste.
I feel like with everything, there just needs to be a human in the loop somewhere. I've hated using the word vibe coding because it's not really vibe coding.
I feel like it's all vibe designing.
Vibe designing. What a term.
I'm curious to think about this because obviously we're really diving in and we're leaning into this sort of AI era where AI can really do most of the stuff that we talked about. It's like it can create those iterations and those pre-drafts and stuff like that. Where do you see the role of a designer like yourself sort of coming into this equation?
Design engineer.
Design engineer, correct. You got to implement it.
No, definitely. I'd say more than anything else, it's taste. I feel like, these tools kind of allow you to do whatever you want. And that's great as long as you know what you're doing. But, there's still like plenty of sites out there that's like, wow, that's a lot of animation, or like, trying to come up with like intelligent decisions for, like, I don't know, like customer acquisition and trying to like get people to convert on pages. Whereas like, if you can do anything and nobody's going to give you that feedback or critique, like you are going to do anything and nobody's going to stop you. But I'd say like, especially like, the amount of generative art that's out there, like I just did all of Outer Base's brands last year and it was all Mid-Journey art. And as soon as we put it out, like the amount of inquiries I got of people asking, how do you prompt this stuff? How do you keep it consistent? There's absolutely no magic 8-ball for this. I'll show you the Figma file. It's probably got 700 to 1,000 different images and we'll generate out, I don't know, maybe like 50 to 100 for a certain concept. Bring them into Figma, maybe find 4 to 5 of them that actually kind of like meet our standard, and then from there, repeat the process, use those original 4 images as a baseline to be like, does it match this to the same degree? Does lighting look correct? Like all these other things that you really don't have too much insight into unless you understand how it works, because at the same time, like you just asked it to create it for you. It did create it for you. You could very easily just go and use it. But look at brands like Perplexity, for instance. I think Rand Putnam's done such a fantastic job with just keeping that brand consistent and like fresh in an era where anybody could just be generating this kind of art.
Because it's like you said, it's got that taste element. Do you know if Perplexity uses Instrument Sans for like their primary font? It's come up really recently, the thin serif
like what they use in all their marketing
isn't it,
stuff,
it's like the
all
thin
the posters.
serifs. Is that Instrument Serif? I think it is.
It sounds right.
It sounds right.
I feel like compared to like their actual products though, that has not caught up with like a lot of the brand. But
Instrument Serif, that's it.
Instrument Serif looks right. But I really like your argument about taste. Like this is where a human in the loop is absolutely required. But then the question comes up, is it something that can be automated at some point in the future? What do you think about that?
Maybe. The further along we get with like right now, let's say it can handle guidelines super well. It can sort of like figure out the fonts you need, the colors, have typical sort of like UI structure for, a product or whatever. Maybe in the future though, that, you can already see it with like a lot of the prompt injection stuff where, you can hold this stuff to guidelines pretty well. And as you're adjusting prompts, as you're adding to them, you can get art pieces that start coming out a lot more similarly. And I think that's going to expand to the rest of it. Absolutely.
I feel like with everything, there just needs to be a human in the loop somewhere, even with like the vibe coding and stuff like that. And I've hated using the word vibe coding because it's not really vibe coding. It's a level of abstraction. So like if we have low level languages, right? Like not COBOL, Assembly, Fortran, all these ones like that. Then we take it out to high level languages, Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, all this stuff. And then I feel like it's just a mental step above that where it's, still what you need to implement. You need to implement auth. You need to implement this in a certain way. Like, for example, when I give like Cursor like a design of something, I'm like, okay, use this in a column row type thing rather than a table or whatnot. And because it will try to do some funky thing with divs and flex boxes. I'm like, no, it's just gonna be 10 times easier if you just use columns and rows. Trust me on this. I think the same thing with design, because when I was doing some of the sort of like the side images where I generated them with Mid-Journey, I refined like the color profile and the way that it showed up But then I also did some post-processing with Figma where I applied a color profile. I applied some shadows and some other stuff just to kind of make it look really absolute. So I don't think with any of these things, it will be a complete replacement. I think it will just be another level of abstraction up where if it's low level, high level, maybe we shift everything down from like Python's like a medium level language now, and then just like using AI as like a high level, because I don't really call it vibe engineering or vibe coding, because I'm not just like, yeah, build me a to-do app with a 7-figure MRR and make it quick and no errors, please. I'm like, I don't really do that. I do really targeted specific stuff, but I haven't written any code in like forever. But like the code that it writes is good because I just dictate how to do it type thing. But it's really interesting to see.
Cool. We had a bit of a monologue on vibe engineering there. So how do you call vibe designing? Vibe design, is that a thing?
Yeah, that's kind of like what we all do. I feel like as much as like, I don't know, I feel like when you get out of college and you're like getting into web and product design, they're like, you got to read these books. I feel like outside of like the design of everyday things, Don Norman's books, it's all kind of BS. And we all just kind of, create the rectangles. And more than anything else, the more you understand the grid, the more you can step away from the grid. And you start seeing these, I don't know, it's like you see decisions being made by, extraordinary professionals. And if you saw like a college student do that, you'd be like, no, that's terrible. Are you kidding? Like, stick to the grid. But because it's them doing it, hold on, let them cook. Like, they're doing something interesting here. It's all the same stuff. I feel like to some degree, it's like the further along you get in design, the more you kind of like start breaking away from the traditional patterns, probably out of boredom more than anything else. As I said, you can only design the rectangle so many ways. But yeah, no, I feel like it's all vibe designing.
Vibe designing. What a term.